I'm your host, Carmilla, and this is Cat Scratch Radio, a horror podcast.
Today on Cat Scratch Radio, I have author of the Reclamation series and Give Me Grace, Bethany A. Perry, here to discuss zombies. How are you doing today, Bethany?
I'm pretty good. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, it's exciting. This is my first interview in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the podcast. We're not doing it through Zoom.
It's super fun.
Yeah. So Bethany's going to tell us all about zombies today, and I'll probably ask some questions as we go along, as they come to me.
Sounds good.
All right, go ahead.
All right. Undead, flesh eaters, deadheads, the walking dead, zombies. No matter what you call them, they've permeated our culture just like they have for thousands of years. And while the current American zombie myth has built on others before it, it's a new thing altogether. When you Google the origin of zombies, you have to scroll pretty far and keep digging to find anything that tells you other than Haiti. And we will get to Haiti, but we're going to start much earlier than that, with the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is humanity's oldest recorded story. Contained in that story is a threat put forth by a goddess to free the dead so they may eat the living.
See, I did not know that.
I didn't either.
I had no idea about that. I did not know that zombies went that far back.
Yeah, when I was Googling, you get a lot from Haiti because the word zombie comes from Haiti.
Yeah.
But the idea of flesh eaters is a lot older than that. So I kept digging around and we went way back. In ancient Syria, even, graves were desecrated, skulls exhumed and smashed, and they were reburied without their bodies. In ancient Greece, bodies were buried in a number of ways. They'd have rocks on their chests or in their mouths, suggesting that the fear is that the dead will rise and consume the living.
Wow.
Some myths at this point are one and the same, and before they were pulled apart, evidence suggests vampires and zombies were of the same origin.
Yeah, that I knew, that the vampires were originally flesh eaters.
Right, yeah, it makes sense.
Also, werewolf and vampires come from the same lore as well, because, like in Dracula, he's able to shapeshift into a bat and a werewolf.
And a werewolf, yeah. It makes sense with the vampires and zombies too. It's the dead rise to consume the living, flesh or blood.
Right.
I think that ghouls are probably going to be part of that also.
Yeah, definitely.
And then, of course, the vampires or zombies, they return to their graves. So vampires weren't always beautiful. Bram Stoker really introduced the idea of beautiful
the
vampires.
romanticizing of vampires, yeah.
They were once as corpse-like as zombies, but they did diverge at some point. And so now we have vampires that refuse to decompose and zombies that do nothing but.
Yeah. Did you know, speaking of Dracula, did you know that the term brides for Dracula is supposed to be gender neutral?
Really?
Yeah.
No.
So he could have a male bride.
Yeah.
And it would still be a bride.
So Jonathan Harker, look out.
Yeah. Definitely look out.
Evidence unearthed by archaeologists and historians point to a zombie panic in Yorkshire about 700 years ago, where the bodies were mutilated and decapitated after death and before burial. And the evidence points toward a fear of the dead rising to threaten the living.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it was pretty widespread. They talk about the zombies in Renaissance streets as well, but that was more of a syphilis thing.
Yeah.
And then in Africa, there's tales of the dead being unleashed on the living that reach back centuries. A god is in charge of that too, and I might mutilate the name, but Nzambi Mpungu. And that they were in charge of leading souls to the afterlife. So if you angered the god, instead you would be cursed into slavery for eternity.
Oh wow!
So we're gonna talk about some religious stuff because we're moving to Haiti next. So real quick, I wanted to take a side trip and explain the difference between hoodoo and voodoo.
Yeah, there's definitely a difference there.
Yeah, because hoodoo is more of a practice instead of a religion. It originated in the U.S., and it's a mixture of many traditions and folklore. It's a mixture of West African folk traditions, Native American practices, and European folklore and magic. Voodoo, on the other hand, that is a religion. It originated with people in Africa and then traveled with them when they were enslaved and brought across the ocean. It also mixed with other religious traditions like Catholicism, and it was key to the lives of the Africans enslaved by the French 300 years ago in Haiti.
It's crazy. I like that so much of African culture did come with them.
Right.
Yeah. I love that they were able to at least keep some of that. And I think it's important for them to continue to keep their culture.
Absolutely.
And protect it.
Yeah, for sure. And the period that which France was using the people to work on the sugar plantations in Haiti, it was really violent and inhumane.
Yeah.
They felt like it was cheaper just to get more slaves than it was to care for the people that they had working. There was no medical care. There was no care at all about them being
There's an entire
humans.
movie about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen White Zombie with Vincent Price?
I have not, actually, which is funny, as much as I love zombies. But it does. It goes over. It's very similar to what happened to people in Haiti.
Yeah.
And of course, it's most likely that they brought their belief in zombie to Haiti, and that's where zombie comes from.
Right.
And it's really not hard to see how it traveled over with these people. And the punishment from the god merged with voodoo and the Bokor priest, which was a new type of priest. And these priests would work a dark spell that would turn a person into a zombie, trapped in their own body, which is basically a walking corpse that has to do its master's bidding forever. So even in death, they couldn't escape slavery.
So kind of like a thrall.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that, again, has that correlation with vampires.
Right.
Yeah.
And they'd be slaves forever. You know?
That is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can see why that would be what they would be afraid of.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
It was a horrific thing.
And like we talked about, then White Zombie was, where it really kind of came to America with that myth.
Yeah.
And then it started to get popularized with Night of the Living Dead, and it ballooned since then. So we've got a lot of different types of zombies now.
Yeah.
We've got classic zombies like Night of the Living Dead, The Walking Dead, the Rotten Ruin book series.
I have not read that.
It's really wonderful. I've read the first 2 books. It's a YA series. It is the first books that my oldest kiddo really read in middle school, and they read them in middle school. The English teacher they read them in class and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a really fun series. The protagonist is, of course, like 15.
Oh, yeah.
I
mean, if it's young adult, so.
And he was a baby when the zombie apocalypse happened.
Oh my god.
So
imagine growing up.
Yeah, he's grown up in it.
Wow.
They're really fun. You should check them out.
I'll definitely check them out. Yeah.
And then, of course, there's altered zombies, like in Shaun of the Dead. At the end, he's playing video games.
Right.
The Cured. That's a really good movie with Elliot Page.
I haven't actually seen that one.
It's really good.
I didn't know he was in a zombie movie.
He was.
Yeah, I knew that they stole his likeness for the Last of Us video game.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So
hopefully that won't happen anymore with the new contracts.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they just go with the likeness of the girl that is playing the character now in Last of Us.
Yeah.
This TV series. So.
In The Cured, it's about people that have been cured of zombieism.
Oh, wow.
But there's some kind of connection between these people that were zombies. And so it's really interesting to see them trying to incorporate back into life and that kind of thing.
Well, see, and I really like that because in The Last of Us, I'm bringing it up again because it's such a popular zombie thing right now. It's fungal.
Right.
Yeah, so the zombies are... literally, it's a parasitic fungus. And one thing that fungus does is it connects it to other fungus, and they basically communicate, and they're able to communicate to the trees and everything else like that, which is why fungus is just like one of the most important things in the world. We die, fungus eats us.
Right.
And it continues to communicate to everything. And that's why, of all of the theories, the fungus theory is my favorite.
And that would be considered an altered zombie, not a classic zombie.
Definitely not a classic zombie.
But I am not a zombie purist. I love anything that is even like a zombie.
Yeah, me too.
And in my book series, the Reclamation series, they're a little bit altered because there is a cure. Right. But it only works for a certain amount of time after they're turned.
Oh, okay.
So it seems like there's some communication between the zombies in those books too.
Okay.
So I would consider them altered zombies. And you've got 28 Days Later.
28 Days Later.
And because that's a virus and it's a virus in my books as well. So that's considered not a classic zombie.
Right. And in 28 Days Later, they're runners, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're runners.
It's terrible.
Scariest thing. Kind of like Resident Evil ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Resident Evil T virus though that mutates things.
Oh, I know. That's a whole
other nightmare.
Ballpark, yeah. And my favorite change to zombies is like the romanticized zombies. I never thought I would see something like that when I was younger, because iZombie, warm bodies, Santa Clarita Diet,
where they're not where they're still human.
They're still human.
Yeah.
They're thinking and living and trying just to make it while they have to eat brains.
They have this disorder. It's like they're disabled.
Yeah, and there's also a movie called Zombies, and in that you get the zombies' point of view.
Oh my god.
So when they're, like this, it's black and white. And then it switches to color, and it's the zombies are talking to each other like we're talking to each other.
Right.
And they don't know what's going on. They don't know why everybody's scared of them.
Oh my god.
It's really enjoyable.
That is super funny.
So, I mean, clearly we're just as obsessed with zombies as we were in the past. It's not the same, though, as it was in the Middle Ages with Gilgamesh or with Haiti. It's not the same sort of myth. It's evolved with our culture. Why has it grown so much and get romanticized to zombies who can talk and think and walk among us? And why did, The Walking Dead, break so many viewership records time after time?
Oh, I was going to say we romanticize zombies because humans will fuck anything.
Well, I mean, that's true. My theory is because of capitalism.
Capitalism, yeah.
But not because of why you might think. We can sell all this zombie stuff.
Right, consume.
It's because in capitalism, the system gives as much as it takes. At least. You spend more time at work than you do at home. You give more money to the landlord, the power company, the grocery store, than you make. And, I think everybody's seen it. If you quit your job or you die, you're replaceable.
Oh,
as
absolutely.
irreplaceable or essential as you think you are, capitalism must move on.
Yeah.
The wheels keep grinding. But with the zombie apocalypse, capitalism grinds to a screeching and satisfying halt.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everything completely shuts down.
Yeah, there's no job. Your boss is a zombie. There's no school. It's overrun. Even the military is useless most of the time.
Everybody becomes equal at that point.
Zombies expand exponentially because there's 8 billion people on the planet.
Is there 8 billion now? I thought we were at 7 billion.
We're pretty close to 8. They haven't officially declared it, but...
We've got to stop breeding.
They think we will eventually go back down, but we're probably going to get to 10 billion before we do. So if you can imagine, one bite or one scratch makes a zombie.
Oh my god.
In days it would be over half the planet.
And unless they're decomposing zombies, we're going to get runners.
Right. No, thank you. So because of that, all of a sudden the individual is important. Mm-hmm. The human beings around you are important. Life has to persist like it has for millions of years. So now every life is precious, completely opposed to capitalism.
Oh, yeah, where every life doesn't matter.
Right. No life matters. You're replaceable, Capitalism must grind on.
I think there's a... have you ever played Stardew Valley?
No.
Okay, so Stardew Valley, nothing to do with zombies. It's just a cute little farming simulator. It's fantastic. But at the very opening, he works at or he or she, doesn't matter, right? Works at a corporate job that... hates and ends up getting his grandfather's farm, so he moves away.
Nice.
But you see when they're going through the thing, there's a skeleton that's just sitting there, and all I could think is they would just sweep that out of the way and put a new body in that seat immediately. Because that's something I hate, is that it's all about bodies and seats more than it is about production.
It really is. And
it's really unfortunate.
But in the zombie apocalypse, it's not like that.
No, because everybody has a use and everybody has a, like if we were going to go into the zombie apocalypse, I could be like, I went to school for healthcare.
Right.
Science.
Exactly.
I know how to take care of people.
Exactly. And even if you don't have a specialized skill, you're important because, the species must survive.
Yeah, the human life can't continue without it.
Right. So every single person is important. And, I can see this in my own enjoyment of zombie media. Like when The Walking Dead turned into a free-for-all where humans are killing each other and it doesn't matter anymore, I tuned out. It doesn't
make sense anymore. Yeah.
Right.
I know humans will still continue to kill each other. Like, that's inevitable.
Right.
We suck.
Right.
We are literally the worst.
We've always killed each other.
Yeah,
we always
we're
will.
the worst
Yeah.
species on the planet. I mean, I'm not saying that other creatures don't do it, because
Right.
they do. But we are pretty awful.
We're fairly awful, yeah. So I want the every life is precious. I want the utopia.
Right.
So that's what I like about the zombie apocalypse.
So I think you would like Sweet Tooth, which is not about a zombie apocalypse, but it's about a virus that kills off a bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
But anyone who was pregnant during the time that the virus hit ended up having half-breeds who are half
Interesting.
animal and half human. And they're like the cure to the virus, but they would have to kill these children in order to get it. Yeah, it's a really, really good show. It's on Netflix. I'm hoping for a third season.
Cool.
But it takes the idea of a zombie apocalypse and turns it on its head.
Right.
It's just really cool.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And something that I hadn't seen explored, which is what interested me to write my books, is what happens after the zombie apocalypse. So in my books, the Reclamation series, there's 20 years of the apocalypse, people living, day to day with this threat, and then they find a cure. Somebody's been working on a cure all this time. So, you're allowed with this new view of life to start putting society back together. But I wondered, would it look like it used to? Would we move forward with the understanding that life is precious, or will we go back to the way we were?
I almost wonder if we would go back to more how Native Americans operated and how everybody had a job and an obligation, the social obligation to each other. And you did your social obligation rather than having to pay rent and having to pay taxes and all this stuff. You did your social obligation, and that's how you contributed to society.
And the societies in my books are like that.
Yeah, and that's how it should be. I mean, that's how it should be now, but, here we are.
Right. And what would we do with the people that were cured and had to turn back? How would they cope with that? And I know that it's a very brief period in my books, but even that brief period with the desire to eat your best friends and family.
The amount of therapy you would need.
Right.
And especially if, are the zombies in your books, are they sentient?
Not really.
Not really, okay. So
there's a link to Star Trek in that, when Picard talks about being taken over by the Borg,
right,
he was in there, but there was nothing he could do.
So it's like a hive mind.
Right, sort of. And the fact that he was in his mind but couldn't do anything, he had to follow. And my zombies are kind of like that too, where they're in there screaming to be let out. They don't want to eat their family, but they can't do anything against the virus.
Okay, so they're not completely sentient, but they are conscious.
Right.
Okay,
which
that's
is very
scary.
frightening.
That is so scary.
And my main characters, Adelaide and her father, Jack, they try to answer all these questions while they're living their lives. So they're flawed but relatable, and they kind of stumble through their mistakes and soar through triumphs,
And Adeline
but they're
actually
free of
stumbles
capitalism.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Got a lot of clumsy people,
Right. Yeah.
Not that I know from experience. Self-hand.
Slightly modeled after me.
Yeah.
And then that kind of leads us around to things like iZombie and Santa Clarita. Our fascination, like our love of that escape from capitalism, really fueled our love of zombies so much that we want to see them win.
Yeah, we're at the point where I like Dawn of the Dead because no one survives.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? That's what humanity needs.
Seriously. And we see them grapple with the morals of having to survive when they have to eat people, and we want to see them fight to survive. And I think it's a pretty elegant twist.
Yeah, I think that is really cool. Now, my question for you is, if the zombies took over and every human life, everyone became a zombie, do you think the zombies would turn on each other to eat each other? Or would they all just slowly die out from decomposition?
It depends on the type of zombie.
That's true. So,
in The Walking Dead, they don't eat each other.
Yeah, they won't eat each other, and that's how you can keep the smell off of you.
Right.
Or like you keep the smell on you, and they won't go after you. Yeah. Whereas, like in our traditional zombies, they wouldn't be able to eat each other because they're decomposing.
Right.
And the fungal ones from The Last of Us wouldn't be able to eat each other because their brains have been completely formed into fungus. So I just wonder if something like if they were non-decomposing, if maybe they would eat each other at that point.
Maybe. I mean, it depends. Like, are they subsisting on what they're eating, or are they just doing it because...
Or the
it's
need
the
to
instinct.
spread.
Right.
Like, is the need to spread why they're doing it, or is the need to eat?
It's their procreation, isn't it?
It is their procreation.
It's wild.
It's their need to continue to procreate their own species.
Yeah, and I never go into it in my books, but I did think about why they eat people, and I think for me, it had to do with feeding the virus.
Right.
So the virus would still have something to feed off of
So,
and
like
spread.
viruses and parasites, they need that nourishment to continue.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the zombies would also eat animals in that case. There's a lot of animals to eat.
Yeah, I think they would. And my question is, what animals would also get the zombie virus?
Right.
Because
Apes,
pigs,
maybe. Yeah.
pigs, cows, that are all similar to us in
Right.
like DNA structure.
Can you imagine if they hit like a dairy farm?
Oh my god, they're insane.
Zombie cows everywhere.
This is what happens.
They'd be like, moo.
But my biggest fear would be zombie gorillas,
Yeah,
because they're already so strong.
seriously.
That
Zombie
terrifies me.
chimpanzees, too.
Yeah. Oh my god. Right. Or any monkey really would just be a lot to handle.
Yeah.
I don't think that I think it would be really, really hard for us to survive in a zombie apocalypse.
I think so, too.
Truly and utterly, without having to isolate ourselves.
Right.
And even then, I think that it would spread really fast, because look at how COVID spread. People don't take viruses seriously enough.
Right.
And then it spreads everywhere, and you get consumed.
Yeah.
And that's at the end of it, that's again why I like Dawn of the Dead. At the end of it, the zombies are gonna win, because they're gonna overnumber.
They probably are.
They outnumber us.
For a species to survive, I once read that it takes 10,000 individuals. So if
Think
we
of
could
how
maintain
fast
10,000 individuals, humanity would make it.
it would make it, but only if we were able to isolate off from
Right.
the rest of the zombie apocalypse.
Or find a cure.
Or find a cure, yeah. And the thing is we know that we can find cures really quickly, because they got that COVID vaccine within months.
Right.
So, and I bet you if we had had more funding towards it, it would have been faster than months.
Yeah. So in my books, that's all they're focused on.
Right.
Is making a cure. So it takes them like 15 years.
A lot of zombie books and movies are, right? They focus on the cure. And when I was writing a zombie book, which I never finished, that was the main thing, is the main character, she ends up kind of going a little bit insane after spending all this time. She raises a child. She found that the parents were dead.
Yeah.
And she had to blow her own professor's head off, and so she's like massively traumatized.
Yeah.
And she's starting to go a little, and so she starts testing on live subjects.
Right.
And so she's trying to find this cure, and these raiders come and attack her commune of people, and so she abducts some of the raiders and uses them as live test subjects, and turns them into zombies while they're chained up, so that she can practice on making a cure. And that's where I stopped writing. I love the book series that I wanted to make with it, Zombie RX, and like the whole point was supposed to be this whole medical field thing, like the some medical cure for AIDS or something like that goes wrong and gets on the black market, and that's how the zombie apocalypse started.
Interesting.
And I was actually inspired by that guy who took bath salts in Florida and ate that guy's face off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was what inspired that book for me. And I was like, aha, humans are doing it. We're zombies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think another form of zombie that we didn't cover was actually human zombies. Like, think about your local fast food worker, right? They're on autopilot. Yeah. So we get into these jobs and they're dead end and everything. We become zombies, where all we're doing is working as wage slaves to fund the corporate and make the pennies on our own to try and survive.
Yeah, the capitalism wheel.
Yep, the capitalism wheel. So we covered capitalism, but not so much how zombies are already existing.
Well, and I think you're right. I think that could be part of it too, because that goes back to the more classic Haitian zombie myth of being the slave forever.
And now having to constantly do the same thing over and over again.
There's a movie I haven't seen that I would like to see. I think is it called Fido? And they use them as, like that, they use them to mow the lawn and, they keep them as pets and servants. So that's very classic.
That's really funny because Plants vs. Zombies, you can use mowers to like kill the zombies because you use plants to protect yourself from the zombies. Yeah. It's a silly game. It's a lot of fun, but it's a silly game. But they're traditional, just regular walking zombies. Yeah. But the idea of them mowing grass instead of being mowed over by a mower is pretty funny to me.
But yeah, I mean, it's changed a lot, the myth, even in the century that has traveled from Haiti to America. Did start of a fear of being consumed by the dead, of turning around and doing the same to our loved ones, but it's now become more of a fascination. So a wish for a simpler life where the daily grind is kind of ground to a halt. So I have to wonder where it's going to go next.
And that's something I ask everybody I interview. Where do you think horror is going to be in the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years?
Yeah, where do you think we're taking it?
I really want to see people explore after the apocalypse as far as zombies go, like in my books. That's what we've seen the beginning of the apocalypse innumerable times.
Over and over and over.
Over and over and over again. I want to see more of what happens when it's over.
Yeah.
What happened to the kids that grew up in it?
Yeah, that to me is the big one. It's like, what is it like living in constant survival mode?
Right, and what are they like? Are they like kids when they're teenagers anymore?
No
way. I don't think so.
They would be adults, or like they would be, And that's another thing in Sweet Tooth, which again, it's another apocalypse type storyline. So the teenagers who weren't half-breeds because they were born before the virus, they're hardened.
Right.
And they're adults. Yeah. They're grown. And that reminds me of, before we stopped doing child labor, is people were raising their kids to be ready to work and be in the workforce by the time they were 9 years old.
Yeah.
And so it's no joke that zombies are just kind of a no-brainer for what we would go to, because we're so used to that, fascination of that.
Yeah, so that's where I would like to see it going.
Yeah.
I think that the traditional methods of entertainment as far as movies and books, TV shows, need to get on board. I think that they think that we got burnt out on zombies when we all still really love them.
Yeah, and it's like they finally figured out that we're not done with vampires. Right. So we just got the last voyage of the Demeter. They realized we want vampires.
Right. We're never done with these old myths.
No, we're never going to be done with them.
No, they're centuries and centuries old.
Yeah, and that's my biggest beef with the publishing industry.
Right.
Is that they think all of these things are dead, but people are still consuming that media.
Right.
They're just consuming it from self-published authors and indie authors because you refuse to publish it. And it's getting harder and harder for people to market themselves without a lot of social media is dying. Right. And so people are having a harder time getting a hold of that media, which I think sucks because
people want it.
Yeah, they want it. And I think indie publishing is going to be the biggest boom when it comes to horror.
Absolutely.
And I've had a few on here from Wicked House Publishing, Patrick's publishing company. And I just think that's the future of horror, is we're going to get a lot of indie presses and stuff like that, and we're going to get a lot of self-publishers, and horror is going to pop off as it always has.
Absolutely.
And we're going to get new and more inventive ideas because there's not going to be gatekeepers.
Yeah, for sure, because there's a lot to be explored in the genre of horror.
Yeah, there really is. So I have to ask, what's your favorite scary movie?
Oh, that's a great question. The first one that comes to mind is Scream.
Such a good movie. I just still really excited. They're coming out with, I believe, a Scream 7.
Yeah.
And Matthew Dillard is going to be in it. Yeah. That is the rumor. That's the rumor, is that he's going to be in it.
I will be there.
Yeah,
I skipped the last one, but I will be there.
Oh, the last one was good.
Was it?
Yeah, so good. The Scream movies, I love them all.
I haven't seen 5 or 6, to be perfectly honest.
Okay, so 5, really fantastic. Plays on the same trope of the don't trust your the new love interest. So stays in that kind of thing, but the reason why is really perfect. I won't ruin it for you. And then 6 is super meta. Like they're constantly
Awesome.
like, because the Scream movies exist because what's her name goes off and writes all these books about it.
Gail.
Yeah, Gail. And so the movies exist in their timeline, and it's crazy.
Awesome.
It's super meta, and like the teenagers in it are like, this is happening to us, and this is what happened in the movies. It's the same MO.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
The whole series is just fabulous. I love it. I thought I was gonna hate 5 and 6, and I was just proven super wrong.
I think I'm really gonna love them. I just have anxiety, and so
Yeah.
horror movies is not as easy for me as it used to be.
There's a lot less jump scares in those too.
I did Google who of the original cast dies in number 5 because I knew in my heart they were going to kill someone, and I could not watch it. I just couldn't bring myself to watch it because I didn't know. So I did Google who dies.
Yeah.
So I do know that.
So yeah, and I don't want to ruin it for anybody who hasn't watched it.
Right.
But, I cried a little.
Oh yeah.
Because I was bummed.
I'm gonna bawl like a baby.
Yeah. I was really bummed. I was like, ugh.
But I would bawl like a baby for any of them, so that's not a giveaway at all.
Yeah, but I'm super excited. I'm hoping 7 kind of like brings us full circle, and I'd love to see them close off the franchise.
Yeah.
Because I don't want it to get like Halloween, where Halloween has
just never ends.
never ending, and all these AUs, everything. And for anybody who doesn't know what AU means, it means alternate universe. And because the Rob Zombie movies have nothing to do with the original series.
Really?
Yeah. They are completely different, altered universe.
See, Nightmare on Elm Street was always my jam.
And one of the things that I think is hilarious, Nightmare on Elm Street's mine too, in Halloween though, is that she has a son in 3. She has a daughter in the later movies.
It's like when Data's cat is a boy the whole time until the one episode where they have to de-evolve. So Data's cat is suddenly a girl who's having kittens.
Yeah. So contingency issues,
Right.
But so where can my listeners find your books and you online?
You can find the books anywhere. I sell them at all retailers. You can also find me at bperrywrites.com. Writes as in W-R-I-T-E-S. Yeah.
As in a writer.
As in a writer, exactly. And I sell signed copies on Etsy, so you can find them there too. I have links on my website. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook. I do have an Instagram, but I don't really post book stuff there, so it's private. And Blue Sky.
Yeah, Blue Sky. And I'm hoping that Blue Sky, once it gets out of beta, is going to be the new Twitter.
Yeah. And I have a bunch of invites if anybody needs one.
I have a bunch of invites too. But thank you so much for coming on the show today. I had a blast.
Me too.
And thank you everybody for listening, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
You've been listening to Cat Scratch Radio, a horror podcast with your host, Carmilla Mays, also known as Matu C. Lawrence. If you want to find me on social media, just look up MX Carmilla.